Jaguars fans, welcome back into the fan cave. And it's going to be an exciting one because this is going to be just kind of a recap of this first third of this 2021 Jacksonville Jaguars season. There's been a lot of things we expected to go really well that really haven't to this point in time. Then there's also been some things where we've really been surprised. Like look at Jamal Agnew. No one expected him to have that kind of performance in the receiving game like he has. So let's roll right into it. This Trevor Lawrence has been a tale of two halves so far within these first 6 games. The first 3, he was throwing it recklessly. He would have 5 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 54% completion percentage. Darrell Bevel just really he just looked like he just wanted to see him sling it all over the place. Obviously, that's not a recipe for success, having a rookie quarterback throwing it, an average of like 45 times a game. Those aren't reasonable numbers to expect out of a rookie quarterback. And then on top of that, having James Robinson average 10 carries a game doesn't work. It never worked. And you use the run to establish the pass, and just never works that way. And then in these last 3 games, his touchdowns really have diminished, but also of his turnovers. And I'm 1,000% okay with his numbers taking a little bit of a hit, while he has those interceptions also dropping. He went 2 for 1 touchdowns to interception ratio this time. On top of that, 67% completion percentage. His completion percentage has gone up 13% in the second half of this first third of the game or season. So, very excited to see what he looks like going into the middle third of the season, coming out of the bye week against a very mediocre Seattle Seahawks defense. I'm very excited to see what that looks like. And one of the biggest things that can help this team is getting Trevor Lawrence a number 1 wide receiver. Through the first 6 games, it has looked like this team doesn't have one. DJ Chark was hopefully kind of going to be fill in for that role, be the deep threat, and really allow this team to stretch the field. We don't have that option right now. Laviska really hasn't shown that ability a whole lot. And then Marvin Jones, who was brought in to be the feature number 1, at least be a veteran role player. He's a veteran role player. I'll give him that. At very minimum, he's a veteran role player. He is not a number 1 wide receiver, but he is someone that can he's someone that's going to get 10 to 12 targets a game. He's going to catch 8 to 10 of them. And I'm okay with that. He's very consistent, to say the least, throughout these first 6 games. So I'm 1,000% okay with Marvin Jones' performance. I just wish we had gotten a number 1 wide receiver for Trevor. Obviously, they knew they were taking Trevor, and they neglected the fact to get a number 1 wide receiver. I understand they're trying to play the money system. You have Trevor Lawrence on a rookie deal. You take it. I don't like these games they're playing with it. Even if they were to go trade for one, I'm 1,000% okay with that. Take easy money right there. Get Trevor a number 1 wide receiver. If not now, in the offseason, should be the number 1 priority. And then DJ Chark, his injury hurts this team in a lot of ways. This team just doesn't have wide receiver depth at all. He wasn't a major factor in the receiving game anyway. He wasn't. I believe he finally went out in Arizona and then just didn't offer anything. He was a deep threat that got a lot of targets, but he didn't have a lot of catches. I believe he has like 6 catches on I believe he has 7 on 22 targets, and then 2 touchdowns. So he has the 2 scores, great, but they were in a time when Trevor was just slinging it all over the place, and he was just recklessly throwing the ball. So how much weight can you put into the fact that maybe it wasn't just another throw that Trevor was forcing? Maybe he saw an incredible pass. I don't know. I'll make another video later in the season giving a long explanation about why I don't think this team should re-sign DJ Chark, and this season is just one of those reasons right now. He hasn't stayed healthy. So, but the starting offensive line has been immaculate. Oh my goodness, the starting offensive line has looked very good. I'm going to say they've been the top 12 team in the unit in the league when all 5 of them are healthy. Obviously, if they can replace AJ Cann with a very serviceable right guard, this is a top 8 unit, I would say, in the league. This is a front 5 that has had a running back go for 5 yards a carry. He's still averaging over 5 yards a carry 6 games through the season. So I'm more than happy with that. On top of that, Trevor has only been sacked, I believe, 10 times through 6 games. So he did give up his first strip sack of his NFL career to Emmanuel Ogbah in London in Week 6. It sucks. Those plays are going to happen. The good players are going to find home, and and it doesn't help the fact that we had our third string right guard in on that and in that point of the game. So the starting five, they play very, very well, and they don't play individually. They're nothing special. For whatever reason, these five, they play well. Like I said, replace AJ Cann. You have a great offensive line unit. I know I'm probably going to get a lot of slack for that. The offensive line gets bullied a lot. But don't look at the London game and say that was, there was nothing for him to work with as an offensive line, because at the end of the day, two of the three were out, and then one of the backups was also injured. So, but the running attack for the Jacksonville Jaguars has been amazing. I believe James Robinson is still in the top 5 of leading rushers in the league, and he's still way below everyone else that is in that category in total carries. So, like I said, 5 yards a carry, I can't knock my head at that. I believe he's averaging just under a touchdown a game. So, why shake your head at that? There's no reason why this team shouldn't be feeding James Robinson more, and it's clear they have. This team has been in closer games these last 3 than the first 3, and I believe that is the sole reason is James Robinson is figuring, they're actually feeding James Robinson, and he is finding the holes, and he is doing what James Robinson does. He's going to be the bruising back that's going to fall forward, but he's not going to have the breakaway speed, and we're okay with that, in my opinion. And then speaking of the running game, the run defense is one of the best defensive units in recent history that this team has seen. Even in the 20s, even the great defense of 2017 had a terrible run defense. They went out and brought in Marshall Darius. It helped, but that defense was terrible against the run. So, but that was an emphasis coming into this 2021 year. They brought in Roy Robertson Harris, Jahad Ward, even though he's more of a pass rusher, Malcolm Brown, and then the addition of anyway, this team has really put an emphasis on stopping the run, and in my opinion, it has. Ultimately, you are looking at 5, 6, 7 man boxes, but at the end of the day, they put an emphasis on stopping the run, and they are stopping the run. So, kudos to them. They're doing what they need to in terms of slowing down the run game. Even in London, Myles Gaskin was very limited. Malcolm Brown, who is somebody that I expected to have a decent game. The Miami Dolphins have seemed to have gotten their yards every game, and 20 carries for 77 yards. Another great example of this run defense actually being pretty serviceable. Now, on the other hand, this pass rush has been miserable. I believe they have 7 sacks on the year so far, only averaging a little over 1 sack a game, when a lot of these sacks are also coming in bulk. They're not actually getting 1 sack per game, unfortunately. I know Dwan Smoot has been playing very, very well, in my opinion. He's only been playing about 50% of the snaps this year. And so I'm excited to see what he would look like with an increased role in this Jaguars front 7. And then Josh Allen. I believe this was a game where they actually realized the error in their ways and said, why the heck are we actually dropping back Josh Allen, our only serviceable pass rushing threat, into coverage? And they rushed him, and they rushed him, and they rushed him in London, and he was a wrecking machine. So I'm very happy to see his production through 6 games. He looks like he's starting to finally figure out how to be the star defensive pass rusher on this front 7. But speaking of star defensive pass rushers, K'Lavon Chaisson is the exact antonym of that word. He is so far gone from even considering being a pass rusher. He has flashes, but Taven Bryan has flashes. Think back of all of the terrible Jaguars picks that we've had. They've shown flashes and they've never panned out. K'Lavon Chaisson is going to be another one of those. Maybe because he did come out very, very early. He was very young when he came into the draft. Maybe he needs time to develop. I don't know. But at the end of the day, he's getting paid millions of dollars, and he needs to perform. This isn't a hang around and develop league. We don't have a minor league system like the MLB does. You are playing against the best of the best every week, and you are not the best of the best. You are not the best of the worst. You are serviceable enough to start. You are not good enough to keep this job. And oh man, I really want to see Myles Jack without the green dot, because I believe Damian Wilson has been playing very well. He played with the green dot on his helmet in London, and so I'm excited to see what Damian Wilson looks like in that big role-playing setting when he has to get the front seven lined up and he's controlling the defense, and then Miles Jack can more just play freely, play out, and play like he's supposed to be playing in that position that we drafted him out of UCLA. But it's been a long time. It's been a long time coming to get that green dot off. I don't know why the Jaguars finally. I don't know why they put it back on him. If 2020 wasn't, in 2019 and all of those years weren't enough time to say that it was a mistake to put the green dot on Miles Jack helmet. It was, and it bit them in the butt just like it's bit everyone else in the butt that has put that on his helmet. So Damian Wilson has been playing very well in my opinion. He's been a monster in run defense. His pass coverage is lacking, but he's also an interior linebacker. Think back to Paul Posluszny. Was Paul actually any good at pass coverage? No. But he was really good at run stuffing, and he was good at getting the defense lined up. And he's heralded as one of the greatest Jaguars defensive players of all time. Obviously, he's not going to get put in the pride or anything like that, but he's going to go down as a very, very good Jaguars player. And I think, in my opinion, Damian Wilson has that capability to do just that. Now, speaking of players that won't get put into the pride of the Jaguars, C.J. Henderson, have we really missed his presence outside of just having depth for when Tyson Campbell was injured? Because he's not starting in Carolina. We got a pick and a tight end for him, so I'm more than excited to see what Dan Arnold picks up at the tight end position outside of having C.J. Henderson out there, because what did he play? 10 games in the 19, I believe it was, or something like that. And Tyson Campbell looks like he needs time to develop, in my opinion. I know I just dig Chase on for not being able to develop, but this is his year too. He had the year to develop. Tyson Campbell's a rookie, and he's around the ball. That's the big difference, is that Tyson Campbell is around the ball, and he just doesn't make the play. He's always near the ball. Every time it gets thrown, he's near it. And so if we can work on his ball skills, he's going to be a great corner in this league. And Shaq Griffin is 1,000% the capable number one corner on this team. You think about DeAndre Hopkins, you think about the great battles that DeAndre Hopkins and Jalen Ramsey would have whenever they were with the Houstons and Jags respectively. They were great. That was the highlight of the game, and that's what CBS or Fox or whoever would build the matchup off of those two, because they're easily the top two in the top three at their position in the league. And, Shaq Griffin held him to 1 interception, 6 yards. In total, Shaq Griffin has held the receivers he's covering to 7 for 96 and 0 touchdowns. He was paid to be the number one corner. He is. Now, the only thing I would like to see with him is him to actually come up with these interceptions. He's had 3 drops, and he's had 1 pick 6 dropped. So if he can get those fixed, great. But, outside of Campbell and Griffin, there isn't much depth. You have Trey Herndon, who is I guess a serviceable nickel, and then you have Chris Claybrooks, who was brought in to be a kick returner. He was drafted in the 7th round to be a kick returner and punt returner. He wasn't. It's a bad day when you have him guarding receivers. Can he play corner? Yes. Should he be? No. He's not a good corner, and he gets burned. Yes, he runs really quickly, but that's about all he does really well. And in the NFL, you have to do more than one thing than just run fast. If that was just the case, then you'd see Usain Bolt and Olympic sprinters in the NFL. But Rayshawn Jenkins, in my opinion, has been very serviceable. He was brought in as a good money free agent to just be a good player in the secondary, and that's exactly what he's been. He doesn't make any splash plays, but he doesn't lose you the game, and I think that's exactly what you want in a safety. Outside, yes, of course, I would love to have an Ed Reed or just a crazy good safety. I'd love to have a Justin Simmons back there, someone that can make massive plays. But I'd also hate to have that be the reason we lose the game, because he's going for a big play. Rayshawn Jenkins isn't going to win you over with splash plays, but he's going to be serviceable, and he's going to be there to make the tackles when he's needed. Now, on the opposite side of that, Andrew Wingard is like Trevor with the tail of two halves. He is just flip-flopping. He goes through these little waves. I don't know what's wrong with him. where he goes like 2 games terribly, 2 games really good, 2 games terribly, 2 games really good, and it just flips. And I'm about tired of it because you never know what Andrew Wingard you're going to get, and it blows my mind the fact that this team really hasn't ever invested the time into seeing what Andre Cisco looks like out in a live game. This is a man that was a turnover machine while he was at Syracuse. That's what he was heralded on whenever he was coming out of Syracuse. And now you have a guy that is just a really good special teams player and a good guy along the line of scrimmage, and Andrew Wingard, who really lacks in his coverage ability. Now, I mean, what do we have to lose, really? It's a well-off conclusion that this team is 1-5. They're not going to make the playoffs, and it would be a miracle if they got white hot and just started rattling off wins. I don't know where they would come from because you're not beating the Bills in Week 9, and it's just games like that. After that, they have the Falcons, the Jets. They play the Colts a couple times, and then they have the Texans one more time. Are we going to limp into the playoffs at 7-9 in a terrible AFC? Who knows? But we're not going to make the playoffs, so it's not even a point of contention. And so I want to see what Andre Cisco can have. I want to see what he looks like whenever he's out there playing against live, real talent. This special teams unit is one of the best in the league. It is. If you take out the inconsistent kicking. Excuse me. If you take out the inconsistent kicking, this is one of the best units in the league. We have an All-Pro punter. And then we have a returner who is the AFC special teams player of the month. And so, at the end of the day, this is an absolutely amazing unit. Matthew Wright is the first kicker this season to actually kick 100% of his kicks. I believe he went two extra points and 3 field goals. So you can't knock him for that. And if Matthew Wright continues to have this success, and Jamal Agnew just continues to have the very, very good returns, I'm not even asking for return for touchdowns. I'm just asking for maybe a kickoff to the 40, maybe a good punt return, things like that. And then Logan Cook, just keep bombing him, dude. Just keep pinning him inside the 20, keep nailing 45 plus 50-yard field goal or punts rather, and just keep doing you, man. You're kicking ass and taking names, and I'm very excited to see what you just see you in a Jaguars uniform for a very long time. But hopefully, I hope to never see you on the field, because if you're never on the field, we're scoring touchdowns and field goals. So hey, but kudos to that unit. If Matthew Wright keeps it right, it's gonna be a good day for Jaguars fans on the third phase of the game. And now to the infamous stories of one Urban Meyer. We knew it was going to be an adventure, to say the least. Anytime they're talking, everyone's always wanted the 30 for 30 about I believe it's the 2008 Jaguars with Aaron Hernandez, Cam Newton, Tim Tebow, Percy Harvin, the Pouncey twins. Everyone about that. Everyone wants that 30 for 30. And everyone knows that team, I think it was like over half the team had been arrested while at the University of Florida, something crazy like that. Excuse me. And coming to Jacksonville, it was from right off the jump, immediately whenever he was assembling a staff, Chris Doyle gets brought in, and then that lights ESPN on fire, NFL Network on fire. And it is talking about Urban Meyer having Chris Doyle, who has had racial complaints against him in the past, and he brings him in, and then he tries to say he's vetted him, and then the next day gets fired, or rather he resigns. We all know what that means. It means, hey, thanks for coming. This ended up not working the way I thought it would. Bye. And so with that going on, and then shortly following that, you have the Tim Tebow experiment. It was a weird one. The players didn't seem to mind it, but man, everyone just it was almost like a political topic. It was like you either love having Tim Tebow on the team or you hate having Tim Tebow on the team. There was zero in between. It was this really weird thing of just like there was almost no middle ground, where it was I don't care, or oh my God, he needs to make the team. Maybe he can even be a backup quarterback. So many weird things were going on with that. And it really added no substance to the team, because at the end of the day, he ended up getting cut. I believe it was in the round of going from 80 to 65. And we all remember just kind of getting laughed at, him getting laughed at whenever he had the terrible little just block in the preseason game. So it just didn't work out well for anyone. In my opinion, yeah, Tebow finally became a Jaguar. Everyone loved it. He became like the third best-selling jersey on NFL Shop, and the Jags made some money off it. Tim made some money off it, and then even to most recent of him just of his post-game activities following the Thursday night game in Cincinnati, that whole situation with the female and the dancing, and it's been a media circus around him, and there's a lot of people saying that he deserves to be fired over just the litany of weird, bad image issues and the bad optics that he's put onto this Jacksonville Jaguars team. Do I think he deserves to be fired? Absolutely not. I think he's one of the best college coaches of all time. I believe he has an 84% win percentage rate in college. He's a three-time national champion and at two different programs, mind you. So he's built two programs up to national championship quality, and this is the NFL. It doesn't just happen overnight. Think back to probably the other greatest coach to ever do it, and Jimmy Johnson. He went to win. Obviously, with the Herschel Walker trade, he did end up with 3 first-round picks from Herschel Walker. So he had a lot more to build off of. But he even after that, he went. I think it was one in whatever. He won one game his first year. Give these guys time. It doesn't. NFL rebuilds do not happen overnight, and when they do, it's a weird thing to see. And I don't want to get Andrew Luck pointed, or the Colts get pointed in my face, because that team was very good. It just didn't have a quarterback. If you were out there playing quarterback for, pick your team, the Bills right now, they would get the first pick in the draft. And then if they get Trevor Lawrence, they would obviously ascend to a very high level very quickly. And so, with that being said, it's been a hell of a season so far. We're 1-5. We're rolling into the bye week, and then after that, we are going into Seattle. So I'm very excited for this middle half middle third, I will say, of the season from like week 6 to week 12, and then 13 to 17. I'm very excited to see what it looks like following this bye week. And I just want to say thank you for watching. Stay safe and go Jaguars.